Winter Rose, written by Panwadee, Ponglada K, Ittimakin. Episode 3. Here you are reading. Now understand why I couldn't find you in Firestone Library. A gentle, mature voice greeted the young girl with long, flowing brown hair, whose white cotton t-shirt, faded jeans, and plain white canvas shoes proclaimed her to be a teenager, fond of dressing casually. She was absorbed in her books, sitting on the grass in the shade of the spreading branches of a tree, which held off the beating light and heat of the sun. At the sound of the familiar voice, the girl looked up, radiant with happiness and excitement tinged with surprise at seeing her brother. But all she could say to express her emotion was a single word, "Cody." However, her feelings quickly changed when she saw Pamela holding Cody's arm. Eileen tried to hide her disappointment, having been taken unaware like this. In the month that had passed since Cody had spoken to her, she had believed that she had been able to accept the truth, but this clearly was not so. Perhaps she needed time, a great deal more time, to repress her feelings of disappointment and pain that Cody was not as close to her as in the past. "Hello," she greeted Pamela politely before turning her attention back to Cody. "When did you arrive? If you had told me in advance, I could have gone to meet you at home." "I told you I would come and visit you on campus. I have got something to tell you. Pam wanted to come and see you too. Is that right, Pam?" Cody's voice grew loving and affectionate at the mere mention of Pam's name. "I heard that you were sick. Are you better now?" Pam inquired with sincerity. "Yes," came Irene's curt reply. That Pamela had heard the details of her illness from Cody made Irene blush scarlet with embarrassment and avoid looking directly at her. Pamela noticed the younger girl's reaction and, understanding something of the feelings in her gentle brown eyes, tactfully decided to give Cody and Irene the chance to talk freely together. "I will go and take a look at the shops in front of the university. They seem to have some interesting things when we drove along Nassau Road just now." Pamela bluffed. "I will wait for you in the cafeteria when I finish." When Pamela was out of sight, Irene was the first to speak. "It's lucky that you have come right now. The flowers in the university gardens are in full bloom." "Oh, have you finished reading?" Cody asked, seeing Irene closing the book in her lap and standing up. I wasn't really intending to read, but sometimes when the weather is good like this, I feel it is a waste if I don't come outside and enjoy the fresh air. Let's go and find somewhere more convenient to sit and talk. I'm sure that you must have something important to tell me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come all this way, right?" So saying, Irene led her brother along a path lined with pine trees and large, shady maples to an ornate flower garden. On the way, they passed Nassau Hall with its dome reminiscent of Thammasat University in Bangkok. which boasted of being the oldest building in the university, much older than Thammasat. This building was designed by Dr. William Ittimakin and Robert Smith from Philadelphia. I read somewhere that it has been rebuilt twice in 1802 and 1855. Benjamin Latrobe, the architect of the White House in Washington, D.C., was the site controller. Originally, a morning assembly was held for students of Princeton here every day. Every morning at 5 o'clock, the bell still sounds, but now the rooms in the building are used for professors' meetings and house the portraits of all the founding fathers of the university, which was opened on 22nd October 1746. You know a lot, Irie. Cody praised his little sister sincerely, having always admired her thirst for knowledge. He knew she was proud of being a student at Princeton, which, along with Harvard in Boston, William and Mary College in Virginia, and Yale in New England, was one of the 4 original institutes founded in British North America. In the building, there are portraits of the chancellors and renowned alumni, along with big portraits of Britain's King George II and King William III. When we have time, Hugh and I like to go inside and look. Sometimes I take Mom to look at the art museum, where a lot of old things from the period of the American Revolution are on display. There are models of Elliot Boudinot's sitting room and dining room from Elizabethtown, New Jersey, and sketches of his furniture too. It's a pity. If you had told me sooner you were coming, I could have taken you to see them. I've already taken Pam on a tour. Pam really liked Stanhope Hall and McLean House, where the deans used to live. They are so old and full of character. Irene nodded in agreement as they both went and sat in the shade of a large pine tree on the smooth, well-cared-for lawn. It was a more secluded spot than where Irene had been sitting when Cody had first arrived. Irene, I have something to tell you. Pamela and I have got married. Irene was taken aback. She had never thought that things would progress so quickly. When she had been sick in hospital, nobody had said anything to her about this, not even Karen. Now, she had lost her beloved brother to another woman forever. She violently attempted to hide the feelings of disappointment, distress, and shock that had engulfed her and made a show of congratulating him. What a wonderful news! Does Mom already know about this? Cody nodded. Irene was lost for words, realizing that she was the last to hear the news. She became even more subdued and quiet. I have to say sorry for not telling you before. Everything happened so quickly. Cody hastened to explain, perceiving her feelings. I had no time to prepare anything. Even our wedding ceremony was arranged in a rush. We had no guests other than the witnesses, plus a few relations and close friends. Everything was arranged against the clock because I have been offered a teaching post at a university in Rio de Janeiro, I have to go and sign the contract next week and then move down there. This additional news also startled Irene and again, she had to struggle to control her feelings before being able to reply in a low voice. It is because of me that you have made a decision like this. Recalling the last time they had spoken at the hospital. Don't think like that, Irene. Pamela's family has invested in the hotel business in Rio de Janeiro. Everything is coming along nicely, but Pam's father is not in the best of health, and the family is worried that there will be nobody to take care of the business if he becomes sick. His son is still young and inexperienced, so they have asked Pam, his eldest daughter, to go and help out. Listening to her brother's explanation, Irene felt more at ease. She had often wondered why Pamela's family seemed so rich. Now she knew that they owe their wealth to oversee investments. Why do you have to teach? Why don't you just help Pamela? That's what Pam's father would like. But I'm not really happy with the idea. I'm a man, and I have my own knowledge and skills. I don't want anyone to think that I'm living off my wife. It's lucky that a friend from the days when I was studying for my PhD in California was a Brazilian. After he graduated, he worked for several years in the States before resigning and going back to live in Brazil. When he heard that I wanted a teaching post there, he contacted various universities for me and found a vacancy for a lecturer in electrical engineering. I applied. The university called me for an interview and decided to offer me the job. That made it easy for me to decide. This way, I have my own career. As for helping my wife, that's my duty as a husband anyway. How long will you stay there? When will you come back? Irene asked in desperation. All signs of happiness had drained from her face, but Cody pretended not to notice. My contract with the university is renewable annually, and I don't think there should be any problems in staying there until my brother-in-law can take over the business. I will miss you a lot. Irene felt her eyes growing puffy. Well, you can always write or phone or send me emails. Or you and your mother could pay me a visit in Rio in your holidays. It's not so far. It doesn't cost more than $1,000 for a return ticket. I will pay the fare for you, little sister. Cody's voice was full of tenderness, only too well aware of how Irene must be feeling. Thanks. Irene could say no more than this. Before lowering her head, tears started to flow down her cheeks, and she sobbed openly in front of her brother. Cody put a comforting arm around her shoulders. Why do you cry so easily? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Now, stop crying and dry your tears. That's a good girl. If Pam sees you like this, she will wonder what's happening. I guess she's already waiting at the restaurant by this time. Come on, I will buy you an ice cream. Irene was at a loss as to what to do, but wiped her cheeks with her handkerchief before allowing her brother, his arm still around her shoulder, to lead her back through the colorful flower garden to the university cafeteria. to meet up with Pamela as agreed. As they were eating together, Irie endeavored not to give Pamela any cause to suspect what had happened. But after returning to the dormitory, Irie gave way to her feelings and sobbed as if her heart would break. Cody had married and not told her in advance. She would not see him again for a long time. How long she could only guess. After weeping until she had no more tears to shed, Irie felt calmer but weak, and she drifted into sleep without even having a shower or changing her clothes. The sound of birds twittering in the big maple tree next to the dormitory aroused Irie to greet a new day. The sunbeams shone straight through the window and crushed at Irie's bed, the warmth of the sun encouraging her to wake up, even though she did not have any classes until the afternoon. Automatically, she looked across at the white alarm clock on the bedside table, thinking about the person who had given it to her. I guess his happiness has already taken him beyond the point of forgetting me. She mused fleetingly before quickly banishing all such thoughts. It was pointless thinking about something that was now impossible. Cody, her beloved Cody, had married someone else. She repeated this warning to herself before getting up, selecting a clean white towel from the cupboard and going into the bathroom. The sound of water gushing from the shower could be heard. Then Irie emerged fresh and fragrant, drops of water still glistening on her lovely face, solving herself to the point of having to be admitted to hospital, had made a strong impression on her, and she did not dare to diet again. That bitter lesson had taught her to take better care of her health. She now ate meals normally and was proud that she had not reverted to being plump again. She guessed it was because she exercised regularly and chose food that was healthy. In the mirror, a slim young woman, swathed in a white towel, looked back at her. Who would have thought that the chubby little girl could grow up to be such a tall, slender woman with translucent white skin, free of freckles that beset so many Westerners. Her shoulders were full and sensual, breasts, waist, and hips as well, proportioned as most women could only dream of. Her long brown hair was hanging loose, framing her oval face with brown eyes, fringed by long lashes, looking out from under the crescent-shaped brows. Sometimes Irie could hardly repress a thought, vain though it was, that the combination of her large brown eyes, long nose, and full lips made her look even more beautiful than the Thai women she had seen in photographs, and she wondered from whom she had inherited her good looks. These thoughts had preoccupied her for a long time already, and although as yet not strongly enough to make her take action, one day she believed she must know the truth of her parentage. The sound of persistent knocking at the door caused her to pull her eyes away from her reflection in the mirror. She knew it could only be one person, her best friend, Hillary. "Hill?" she shouted out while she quickly tried to get dressed behind the screen in the small room. "Who else? Open the door!" As soon as Irie opened the door, Hillary came into the room with an annoying face. Have you forgotten? We agreed to meet in the library at 7 this morning, and it is already 8 o'clock. Hilary complained as she dropped onto the only chair in her friend's room. She was a diminutive as ever, with long blonde hair tied back in a red ribbon, and she still wore her red framed glasses, even though she was now a Princeton student. Sorry, I didn't mean to break my promise. I never heard of anyone who intended to do that. Or have you changed recently? Don't tell me that you went to a party last night with your brother and got back late. How did you know that Cody had been here? Irie asked her friend curiously. Well, I was the person who told him where he could find you. You shouldn't have. Why didn't you bring him over yourself? No one would dare to push themselves upon your brother, especially when he is arm in arm with a beautiful blonde woman. Who is she, Irie? Hilary asked out of curiosity. My sister-in-law. Ah, my heart is broken again. Hilary clasped her hand on her heart as she spoke, unaware that her playful words caused a stab of pain in Irie's own heart. This was one secret that Irie had never shared with even her best friend. Stop hamming, Hugh. Irie teased her friend. The weather forecast had said it would be hot and humid, so Irie had put on a short denim skirt, revealing her shapely knees and legs. Her short-sleeved yellow t-shirt, dotted with colorful flowers, emphasized her youthful charm and freshness. Let's go eat, Irie said to her friend as she put on her socks and white canvas shoes. Good idea. Irie picked up the books that she would need for the afternoon lesson before locking the door of her room and walking away with Hilary. By the time they reached the cafeteria, it was late, and there were fewer people than usual. Irie and Hilary were able to have a table by the window, from which they could enjoy the beauty of Princeton University in springtime, with its verdant leaves and grass and pastel-colored flowers. Both girls left their textbooks on the table as a sign of ownership before going to get their trays. They poured themselves orange juice and milk and put it on the trays. Irie continued to help herself to some grapefruit, lucky that there was still some left, and bread, before asking for some ham and a fried egg. When they both had all the food they needed, they made their way back to the table they had selected. Since you came out of the hospital, you have been eating a lot, Irie, commented Hilary, looking approvingly at the food on her friend's tray and comparing it with her own. Orange juice, milk, and cereal. I'm trying. That's good. Arriving back at the table where they had left their books, they were surprised to find it occupied by a man in his early 30s with curly black hair. Glancing at him, Irie could not help wondering where he was from. His white skin contrasted with his jet black hair, while his eyes looked out from beneath long curling lashes. A long nose and sculptured lips completed the picture. Her curiosity getting the better of her, she ventured another look. Irie's eye met the man's very wise gaze. Feeling strangely flustered, she was the first to withdraw her eyes and was grateful to Hilary for attracting his attention. by putting her tray on the table to let him know that this table was already occupied. He looked at Hillary oddly, but said nothing, and went back to reading his book. Iris broke the silence. Sorry, this table is already occupied. The man looked up at the two girls again before speaking in heavily accented English. I just went away to see my friends for a few moments and came back to find this book on my table. It was possible that he was speaking the truth. When they had put their books on the tables, they had not checked whether anybody else might have already staked a claim to it. If it was so, the girls had no right to ask him to leave it now. Irene looked at Hillary, hoping for advice, somehow believing that this man was not in the wrong. But what could they do that did not look ungracious? Before she had time to say anything, the man spoke again. If you young ladies want to sit here, please. What should we do here? Whispered Irene. It's okay. We already reserved our place. After his hurried consultation, both girls sat down and the man went to sit elsewhere. As he did so, Iris saw him looking at her tray and hiding a smile, but she did not care what he thought. He found a new table not far away from theirs. And soon afterwards, Iris observed him going out of the cafeteria, hand in hand with the beautiful brunette, having apparently arranged to meet his girlfriend here. She could not explain why she felt a pang of disappointment at witnessing this scene. It was strange. She had never seen this man before, so why did she feel like this? Was she crazy? She endeavored to erase all such thoughts from her mind by focusing on the food on the table in front of her. After that morning, she never saw the handsome man again on the campus. But some nights, over the next 2 years, his face appeared in her dreams. Ivy and Hillary graduated with bachelor's degrees in accountancy. Hillary won a scholarship to study for a master's in economics in the United Kingdom. As for Ivy, she went to Boston to study for a master in business administration at Harvard University, staying in a dormitory in downtown Boston. Every morning, she caught the bus to stop in front of the university and popped into Obompang, a coffee shop with an intriguing French name. There she ordered a croissant to nibble with her cup of decaffeinated coffee, while scanning the Wall Street Journal, which was obligatory reading for her course. If she did not do this, she would not be able to keep up with developments in the American business world and would not understand the examples to which the professors refer in their lectures. By the time she had finished her breakfast, she had done with the newspaper and went over the road and into the university campus to study further in the university library until it was time to go to class. Iris' student life was not exciting, as she chose books for her companions rather than going out with her friends or dating any of the young American men who asked to go out with her. She had no regrets, enjoying each day as it came. When she was lonely, she called her mother in New Jersey. Just sometimes, she made an international telephone call to Hillary, studying in England. Although they were now far apart, they still remained close friends and kept in regular contact with each other. Irie had not yet finished her first term at Harvard when her mother Karen called and asked her to come home immediately, giving no reason except that she would find out for herself when she got back to New Jersey. Irie had to contain her curiosity, but her heart was beating fast when the plane landed at Newark Airport, New Jersey. She was burning with a desire to know where her mother had asked her to come back.